apple season, guys. Let's get into it.
Alright, starting off with apple fritters. Here we have 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed and then 4 tablespoons of water. Set that aside to be the flax egg. Now we're cutting up some apples. I suggest using 2 and cutting them up into smaller pieces than we did. And then add on your lemon juice in there and set it aside. Now starting with the actual batter, we put a 1/4 cup of fava butter as our butter and then 1/2 cup of soy milk. So set that aside. We're going to start the dry ingredients. First, 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1½ cups of flour. Lastly, Luke is putting in 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. Yeah, now we can add the wet ingredients to the dry, mix everything together really good, and once it's dough, you can add those apples. Okay, these are good, so let's do this. We have first 4 tablespoons of fava oil, which is our butter, 1/2 cup of peanut butter, and now Luke is adding 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 3/4 cup of milk. Our favorite is soy milk. And then we're gonna add 1/2 cup of brown sugar and 1 egg. Then mix that all together, and then you can add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and 1½ cups of oats. Now we're putting 1 cup of flour. And then we're going to put 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And now it's time to chop up our apples. I like cutting them up pretty small, and then you can add it to the mixture and stir everything up really good. And that's it. It's time to bake. Yes, this is my favorite one, for real. So there's 2 layers. We're going to start with the cake batter part. First is 5 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Also a pinch of cinnamon and a pinch of salt. And set that aside. We're going to prep these mugs now, just putting some oil in each one so that it's greased. And then Luke's putting in 1/4 cup of milk and 2 tablespoons of oil. Just mix everything together really good, and it should form a dough. Now we're gonna start the apple mixture. So cut up your apples, and I would suggest cutting them really small and divide them between your mugs. Now we're putting 1/4 teaspoon of all-purpose flour in each one, and a tablespoon of brown sugar, and 1 pinch of cinnamon. Now he's just going to mix that all together and put it in the microwave for 45 seconds. And the last step is to divide the cake batter and put it back in the microwave for 90 seconds or until the batter is not liquidy. You'll be able to tell that it is ready. Okay, this is the perfect fall dinner dish. So first I like to cook my butternut squash whole in the oven to just soften it up, and once it's soft enough, that's when I cut it in half, turn it over, and put it back in the oven to keep cooking. While that's going on, I'm chopping up some onion and celery and the apple. Once it's all caramelized and fried up well, I'm adding in the pecans and the breadcrumbs and mixing that all together. Make sure to turn the flame off. It doesn't need any more just stir it all together.